Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Aamsuntitledpodcast. I'm Am. Hi, it's nice to meet you if I've never met you before and you've just stumbled across my podcast. This podcast is fairly new. I don't know if you'd consider 2 months new, um, but yeah. So basically, this podcast is just dedicated to my love for books, TV shows. Basically, it's a platform for me to sit there and ramble to people who genuinely want to hear it. Because let's be honest, like not everybody enjoys listening to people ramble, although I'm one of those people. I really enjoy that sort of stuff, especially when somebody is passionate about what they're talking about. I do genuinely enjoy listening to them talk. So in today's episode, we're doing the last part of the Battle of the Labyrinth book, so chapters 16 to 20. I've just confused myself because obviously I recorded yesterday's episode yesterday. I mean, it didn't go up yesterday, but I recorded part 3 yesterday. And I've made like a Word document where it's got my notes for each chapter, and I split the Word document in 4 parts. So yeah, for some reason, I must have been half asleep when I was taking those notes because it said part 3 like twice, and I was thinking, what the hell? Like, I reviewed half of that yesterday. Like, I didn't miss it out. Like, I swear I didn't. I just confused myself. It was supposed to say part 4 instead of part 3. So yeah, I've just had a little. I've been sat here for the last 5 minutes, like cracking up because I made a stupid mistake. But yeah, anyway, I found it, and we're gonna get right into talking about this. If you haven't heard my review of the first 3 parts of the book, I suggest you go and listen to that first because obviously this part is going to contain spoilers about what's already happened. So I would recommend you guys listening on those first. This hopefully all these episodes shall go up tomorrow, although I'm not making any promises because it takes me so long to edit. So between let's say by Friday, all 4 parts will be up, and I'll let you guys know on Instagram when it goes on. Also, I realized something like I didn't realize until afterwards, but I said, you know, when I reviewed the Sea of Monsters book, don't hate on me for this. I've just realized is I said Princess Andromeda, and that's not even how you're supposed to say it. It's Princess Andromeda. Like, why did I say it like that? The episodes, I just realized that I've been saying it wrong, and I was like, that. Mind you, my pronunciation sometimes is awful. I was like, why did I say Princess Andromeda? It's Princess Andromeda. Like, why did I say it like that? So I'm so sorry if that gets on your nerves when you guys are listening in on the episode, the Sea of Monsters episode. I'm definitely gonna have to edit that on Instagram. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I said it like that. I only realized yesterday because what was I doing? And I just sort of clocked that I said it wrong the entire time. I don't know. But yeah, I apologize in advance for that. If you had to listen to See a Monster and cringe every single time I said it, I cringed too when I was editing it. So I'm so sorry about that. It's Princess Andromeda and I'm just an idiot. So I'm so sorry about that. Anyway, this review isn't about Sea of Monsters. I just thought I would put that little thing in there. I'm gonna edit the YouTube caption and be like, I'm so sorry that I said it like that. So it made me cringe when I heard myself say it. Anyway, let's move on. So, chapter 16 is I open a coffin. So, the chapter opens up with all of them flying on the using the bronze wings. So, that's basically where I ended it yesterday, them flying. And they come down to the Garden of the Gods, and Annabeth thinks that Daedalus is dead, but Nico says that he actually isn't. She thinks that he died trying to look for Mrs. O'Leary, but in fact, he's not. Um, and they basically need a ride to get back into the labyrinth. So they need to find the entrance. And Rachel says that she'll sort of sort it out. And she calls her personal driver because obviously Rachel's parents are very rich. So she has her own personal driver. And she says, like, let's keep driving until we find an entrance. I think they're in the middle of like the freeway or something. And she sees like an entrance to the labyrinth and they re enter it. And as they're walking, Rachel can sense that there's something bad or something dangerous is coming, basically. And they find the entrance to the Titan's palace, and Percy says, "I'll go and scathe the area." But the rest of them just disagree. Annabeth gives him her Yankees cap, and she says, at least if you're gonna do it invisibly. And Percy says something in the book where he's like disappointed because obviously the last time that he left Annabeth, she kissed him, and this time she just gave her Yankees cap. he's a little disappointed, let's say. But wait, with the whole thing that's going on with Rachel right now at this point in time, like he doesn't deserve a kiss. At least I don't think so anyway. God, this one's so horrible. I say that out loud. I feel bad. Anyway, sorry. I told you Percy really pissed me off like throughout this entire book. Honestly, it's just he just does so many stupid things, and I'm just like, why? Love him, don't get me wrong, but sometimes like I really question my love for him because I'm like, why? I guess it proves that point that men are dense, aren't they? They don't really see the problems when other people do. Anyway, let's move on. So Percy sees Ethan Nakamura again. Again, you need to remember Ethan because he appears in the next book. He finds out that the blades that the gods used to cut Cronus up, um, all those years ago, when they overthrew him basically and they cut him up into a million pieces and threw him into Tartarus. That blade that they use has been reforged, and that's what Cronus is going to use basically. And then as he's walking around, he sees a sarcophagus with Kronos' body in it. And, at this point, Percy's like, what do I do? Like, there could be literally anything in there. And as he opens the coffin, he sees Luke's body in it. And that's really scary because it's like, whoa, like it's basically telling the audience that Luke has given up his mortal body so that Kronos can use it, which is really scary when you think about it. Like when I was reading that description, I was a bit like, oh, it kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies a little bit. Yeah, and Percy takes off the cap. And he says that he tries to stop Ethan from pledging himself to Kronos, and Ethan, obviously the idiot that he is, he doesn't listen and he pledges himself to Kronos' cause. And Kronos' body, well, Luke's body, rises from the coffin and he's got these gold eyes. Oh, it sounds scary. Like when Rick was describing it, I was like, oh, this is a bit like creepy. But then again, like it's got to mature with the audience. Like it's got to be a bit scary. And these books are not as dark. Like Heroes of Olympus is much darker, so it's kind of like sets the tone, I guess. And Kronos gives Percy this grand revelation that Luke was actually afraid of Percy. Now, that makes me wonder why he was afraid. Because I think he knows deep down how powerful Percy is. And Luke knows that since if he gave his body up to Kronos, like he'd have to fight Percy at some point. And, Percy does the wise thing, which is run in the opposite direction. Now, a lot of people be like, oh, that's such a cowardly thing to do. Actually, if I just saw a body rise out of a coffin, mate, I'd be out of there. Like, I'd be like, see you later. Like, this is not the time and place to pick a fight. And as he's running, he crashes into Rachel. And Rachel's like, oh my God, what's wrong? And Kronos is approaching them, and she takes out her blue hairbrush and she just throws it at him. Like Rick is really good at making these moments of tension, but then like adding like a comedic moment in there. Like that's the comedic moment. Like obviously audience has just been like, oh my God, it's Luke's body like being controlled by Kronos, and then all of a sudden Rachel throws a blue hairbrush at him. Much respect to Rachel for that, actually. That's one of the good things that she does. I really do like that. And they all just charge back into the labyrinth. It's so funny. And that's where the chapter sort of ends. So chapter 17 is The Lost God Speaks. Now this is the chapter that I was like, yes, my baby Grover is finally gonna get what he's been waiting for. And I knew that it's gotta be Pan. Like who else could they possibly find, in other words? So the chapter opens with them all running into the labyrinth, and Annabeth is like, she can't believe what's just happened, basically, and she still believes that Luke isn't bad. And Percy tells her about the coffin, and he tells her that Luke is gone. Like and the person that you knew, the person that you loved, like he's gone. Like he's never coming back. And she still doesn't believe him. And I think it's creating a lot of tension. Like Percy and Annabeth have been kind of walking on eggshells throughout this whole book because Percy just can't understand why, after everything that she's seen, after everything that she knows, why she's still defending him. And, as they're arguing, Rachel sort of intervenes and tries to like break them up. And, Percy just says that he's sorry, and they just sort of carry on. Now, I can't imagine like how difficult that must be for Annabeth. Like, I understand why Percy is pissed off. Like, even I was when I first read the books, I was pissed off too. I was like, how, after everything that she knows, could she still defend him? And like I said, like I talked about this maybe in the last part of this book, is that you know when you feel something for someone, especially when you love them, like you're willing to overlook anything. And that's like the sad truth. Like no matter how much people try and deny it, like I've been guilty of that in the past. Like because you care and you love somebody, you're willing to overlook their mistakes. And obviously Percy doesn't have that love for Luke anymore because Luke tried to kill him, basically. He betrayed him. But obviously Annabeth wasn't there at that point. And I think until she physically sees him, because up until this point, she's not physically seen Luke like be the bad person, if you know what I mean. Like she still can't paint him as the villain. Like even after like what he did to her in Titan's Curse, like she's still harboring feelings for him. And I love that Rick's put that in, like, you know, that whole like she can't get over these romantic feelings that she has. That's very valid. And like as much as like we try and talk about it, like even when normal people go through like breakups and stuff, like it takes them a long time before they can heal, you could like bring themselves out of those feelings. Oh my god, this is turning into like a therapy session. Basically what I mean is like I understand why Annabeth is defending Luke, and I understand why Percy is pissed off. Like I get it. I'm not taking anybody's side because I think that they're both right and they're both wrong in their own way. But yeah, I just thought I'd put that out there. Fucking hell, I just went on a whole like emotional tangent. Anyway, um, Percy finds Grover's cap and Tyson's boot print. Oh, God's sake. And they follow them through the tunnel and they find Grover, you know, passed out in Tyson's lap. And they're trying to wake him up, and eventually Annabeth just splashes water on him. And, you know, he wakes up and he says that, you know, I feel something powerful, like beyond that doorway. And they find themselves in New Mexico. And that's where, in Titan's Curse, Grover felt Pan talk to him and say, you know, I await you. Like he can feel Pan's presence, so he knows that he's there. And they enter the cave and they see Pan lying on the bed. It's such a big moment, like in the book. Like Pan has been like this loose, like invisible string for Grover. Like this is what his entire life has been dedicated to, finding him, and now he's finally met him. It's wow. It was a big moment in the book. I was so happy. Like I felt like a proud mom. Like when I saw Grover like see Pan, I was like, oh my god, this is what he's been waiting for. Sorry, guys, I'm still a little bit bunged up, so it will sound a little bit funny. I'm so sorry. um, and you know, Pan tells Grover that he's been waiting for him. So Pan wanted Grover to find him, basically. And you know, Grover tells him that, you know, come with me. And all Pan says is that, you know, I've chosen well. So that's like, ooh, what's going on there? What does he mean by he's chosen well? And Pan tells Grover that he's dying and that he wants Grover to carry on his legacy. Now, gods don't really die; they more fade away if they don't have like. I think it's something along the lines of if they don't have enough people like still believing in them, they sort of fade away. And you know, um, he's entrusted Grover to be the next god of the wild, basically. Which is such a big thing for Grover. And this is what I mean by Rick gives every character a purpose. Like he never just has characters on the side for no reason. Like each one of them has a purpose, and this is Grover's purpose in the story. And then Pan tells Percy that when the time comes, he won't be ruled by fear. Now, this quote didn't really make sense to me because I was like, oh, but now that I'm on Last Olympian, I can kind of see what he meant. And he tells Annabeth that her time is coming to play a role that she isn't expecting. Again, makes more sense in Last Olympian. You have to read the book. And like I said, I'm going to do a full 5-part review on that, so we'll talk more about that when we get there. And he tells Tyson, you know, not to be disappointed by the heroes, and that his name will live on for generations in the Cyclops community, basically. And he tells Rachel that she can make amends, and that she's just as important as her father. And yeah, again, that entire dialogue won't make sense unless you've read the last books and you're like, yeah, I get it. And Pan tells Grover to release him and carry his message basically. And reluctantly, Grover releases him and Pan fades away, basically. And Grover tells Percy that the great Pan is dead and that he needs to tell Camp. In other words, it's a really, really sad chapter actually. Like now that I'm like looking back at it, I'm like, wow, that it's like Grover found his purpose and he's taken on this legacy, and now like the person who he was aspiring to is gone. So it's just really, really sad. Honestly, like I just get a bit choked up when I think about it. Anyway, chapter 18 is Grover causes a stampede. So they come out of the labyrinth via the hotel basement door. Um, Blackjack and the other Pegasi come to take them back to camp. Rachel tells Percy that her dad is in fact a businessman. Again, all makes sense in the next book. Percy thanks Rachel for her help. Um, and he tells her that if he needs anything, he'll call her because he's memorized her phone number. Oh my god. Why? Why is he so dense? That scares me. What is do you know what? One thing in my life I'll never understand is men. Like, why? Just why would he say that? Knowing fully well that Annabeth is listening, why? This book is killing my Perciveth shipping. Like honestly, like their first kiss, and now this guy's telling Rachel that he's memorized her phone number. Anyway, maybe he doesn't mean it in the way I think he means it. Whatever. And Nico says that he's coming back to camp for Annabeth. So basically, he listens to Annabeth and not Percy. Ha, serves you right. And they end up back at camp, and Chiron tells everyone that they are in place for the attack. So they know that they're about to be um attacked by Kronos' army who are coming through the labyrinth. And Grover tells Selena that not Selena. No. Grover tells Selenas that Pan is dead and that he's asked Grover to carry on his message, but he doesn't believe them. Um yeah, remember him, he's an arsehole, Selenas. Honestly. He hates Grover, by the way. I think he was the one that tried to have Grover exiled when he couldn't find Pan after Titan's curse or something. Yeah, anyway, and then Percy sees Grover and Juniper talking. Obviously she hasn't seen him in God knows how long, so the boy's got a lot of explaining to do. And then Chiron tells Percy, stay with me. And Percy explains everything about what he saw with Luke. So obviously the sarcophagus, Luke his body being overtaken by Kronos. And Chiron tells Percy that he knew that Nico didn't actually get kidnapped or taken away, and that Nico ran away because Percy couldn't keep his promise to protect Bianca. And he also tells Percy that he understands why Percy didn't want to tell him about that. And then just as they're having this conversation, Titan army explodes out of the labyrinth. So this is what the whole book has been building to, this massive invasion of Camp Half-Blood. And Chiron says to Percy, you go and join in. And it's do you know what? This part of the book is really worried because it's the first time where campers are dying, like in Camp Half-Blood. Like that this is just the beginning of a war that's gonna get worse, and there's gonna be more deaths and more people. And you know what? It's heartbreaking. Like when I was reading that, I was like, oh, like he's seeing people that he knows. Like maybe that he's not like busy mates with them, but he knows them, and like his home is being attacked. Like, do you know what? It really choked me up. I was like, whoa. It was like Rick has put me through the ringer in this book. I can tell you that. And he sees Percy. Um, actually, no. Hold on, I'm confused. My words are getting confused. So Percy sees Campe with Ariadne's string. That's the way. That's what she used to help the Titan army get through the labyrinth, basically. And Percy and Annabeth side to side fighting together, which I love. They do that up until the last book as well, which is nice. And they see Daedalus and Briars. They've come to help as well. So Daedalus is in fact not dead, and Briars um, kind of took inspiration from Tyson's words, you could say, and came to help. He was finally useful instead of being a coward. Great. Um, Grover makes a horrible sound, and the entire Titan army like drops their weapons. And again, he's harnessing those powers. Pan has passed his legacy on to Grover. It's amazing. I'm glad that Rick has given Grover a heroic moment as well. It's really nice to see that. And Tyson runs up to Percy and he says, Nico needs your help. And Nico's just exhausted because when demigods use their powers, it really locks it out of them. He called the army of the dead come and help them, basically, and he's just exhausted. And then Daedalus tells Percy that as long as the labyrinth is alive, the enemies, so Kronos' army, will still just come. So if he dies, the labyrinth will die. And just before he makes the big sacrifice, Daedalus gives his laptop to Annabeth as compensation, for giving Luke Ariadne's string, basically. And it's got all his like new inventions, all of these ideas, because obviously Annabeth is an inspiring architect. Inspiring? Aspiring. God. Don't know what's wrong with me today. Aspiring architect. And yeah, he basically gives her that. And Daedalus asks Nico, you could trade my soul for Bianca's, and obviously Nico's spoken to Bianca and he knows that she's okay where she is, and Nico just refuses. He did the right thing. Well done, Nico. Um, and Daedalus tells Percy, just do one thing for me, just look after Mrs. O'Leary for me. And Nico releases Daedalus' spirit, and the labyrinth collapses, and that's where the chapter ends. Okay, so the second to last chapter that we're going to be talking about is chapter 9, which is the council gets cloven. So Percy sees the dead bodies of all the campers. Again, like I said, it must be such a horrible sight to see. The place where campers are supposed to be safe is Camp Half-Blood, and now they're not even safe in their own home. Like, oh, it must be gut-wrenching to see. Like I said, like when I have such a big imagination, like when I'm reading things, I don't just imagine nothing, like I can just imagine the scene in front of me, and it's awful. And then the Cloven Council of Elders decide to call an emergency meeting. Salinas wants Grover exiled because he's made these comments about Pan being dead. Juniper tells Percy that Grover has summoned the power of the Wild God, and obviously that was Pan. He has given his power to Grover so that he can use it. And all of the Cloven Council decide to have a vote on Grover's fate. And out of nowhere, Mr. D appears and he was vouching for Grover. He claims that he wants to hear Grover's side of the story. The votes are tied, and Grover says that he doesn't need the help of the council. So Mr. D actually does a good thing. To be honest, he gets more and more likable, I think, Mr. D. Like, he's just got this tough exterior, but in Last Olympian, he does some really good things as well, which is nice. And Tyson sends Briareus to the forges under the sea, and he says that he's going to stay with Percy to help him, basically. Percy sees Nico in the woods talking to Bianca's ghost. Considering she didn't want to be called, it's weird that Nico still feels connected to her. I guess if you could see the person that you lost, I guess maybe you'd want to talk to them. And Percy goes up to him and gives him the Mythomagic figurine that Bianca stole from the god's junkyard for him. And, he says, just keep it, and Nico does. Then Mr. D decides to come and talk to Percy. Percy finds out that Mr. D has cured Chris of his madness. Um, and he's obviously lost his son before, and he felt that Chris deserved a second chance. So he cured him. Oh, see, he does some nice things. As much as he is an asshole in the first few books, like he does make some good decisions in these last two books. Everybody deserves a second chance. Everybody deserves some sort of redemption. And Rick gives his characters the best redemption, I think. And Percy sees Chris and Clarice holding hands, and he just smiles at them. Oh, it's so cute. You know what? I love Clarice, and I don't think I gave her as much attention like when I first read the books, but as an adult, like going back and reading them, it was so nice to see her have that moment because obviously she's more of like the funny character in Sea of Monsters. Like she's brave, she's a badass, everybody knows that. But this vulnerable side to her that I've seen in this book, like all because Chris had gone mad, like it was so like I shed a couple of tears when I read it. I was like, oh, that's so cute, and I'm glad that Percy and Clarice are somewhat um mutual friends now. I wouldn't say they're really good friends, but they are acquaintances and friends that they can rely on each other, which is so sweet. And I'm glad that Chris and Clarice are happy. Makes me very happy. Um, so the last chapter is chapter 20, which is My Birthday Party Takes a Dark Turn. So it opens up with Percy at camp, and he wants to talk about Kronos, but Annabeth keeps shutting him out. I just, it's one of those things where people don't want to be told what they don't want to hear. So she's just pushing him away because she thinks that that's the way to protect herself. But yeah, and as Percy is leaving, he finds out that Annabeth is actually staying back, and that once everything's over, she's going to go to a private school. And Percy asks her, what did the rest of what was the last line of the prophecy? Like, what was that line that you wouldn't tell us? And the line is, I took it straight out of the books, which is, and lose a love to worse than death. Oh, she knew, guys, from the beginning. She knew that it was Luke that she was gonna lose. Oh, that's sad. Like, it's really sad. Like, it's just, I don't really know what to say. Like, when I read that line, I was like, whoa. It's like I said, Rick is a very emotional writer, I think. Like, he teaches people lessons in a very, very clever way. And as an adult, I see it more, and it's just honestly just heartbreaking, some of the things that he's written. But yeah, I thought that line was really important. Wow. Wow. Like, yeah, let's move on. And then Hera appears telling Annabeth that her quest was a success. But what part of that quest was a success? Like, died. The camp was invaded. Like, what part of her quest was a success? And Percy is getting pissed off at Hera because she tried to get rid of Nico. What idiot. Why would she? Never mind. And she reveals that she was with him when he faced Geryon, and that he sent him to Calypso. She sent him to Calypso's island to heal, and she opened the Titan Mountain for them. And Annabeth completely agrees with Percy. She goes, "What part of what just happened was good? Like, okay, you may have helped on the quest, but what was the point in helping? Because the quest wasn't a success." And then Hera says that she feels insulted, and then she leaves. Well, good riddance. Nobody likes you. Get lost. And Annabeth just wishes him well, and she heads back to the cabin so that Percy can leave. So the next part of the chapter is Percy's birthday, which is a little mini party that Sally throws for him. And it is revealed that Chiron manipulated the mist so that Percy's name wouldn't be cleared, basically. And Paul knows that Percy has had a rough summer, so he doesn't really question him much. And he does something really cute, which is he asks for Percy's blessing to propose to Sally. And Percy says yes. Oh, so that's just so cute. I'm happy that Sally is getting her happy ending. She deserves it. She's such a lovely woman. Like, there's nobody who is more deserving of a good fate than her. So yeah, really proud. And Poseidon makes a surprise appearance. And Sally tells obviously Paul that he is Percy's father. And Percy basically reveals everything that's happened to Poseidon. And Poseidon tells him that, the war isn't just happening on ground, it's actually happening underwater as well. And he gives Percy a sand dollar and tells him that he's his favorite son. So obviously, Geryon was trying to manipulate Percy into thinking that he was Poseidon's favorite, but actually he wasn't. Percy is Poseidon's favorite, obviously. Oh, his forbidden child is his favorite too. And then Poseidon tells him that Typhon is stirring. Again, that's a thread that gets pulled in the next book. So you're gonna have to stick with me for the next book. And Percy remembers the promise that he made Calypso to plant a garden in Manhattan, so he does that. Um, yeah, actually, he made a promise to a friend. That's okay, yes. And Nico appears and he tells Percy that Daedalus has been saved from Minos in the underworld, and that he's getting a bit of an easier punishment, basically. And the book ends with chapter oh my god, with Percy inviting Nico inside to talk, and that's where the book ends. So there was a lot that happened in those 4 chapters. Now that I think about it, there's a lot that's going on. But my final thoughts. So obviously Kronos in Luke's body, that's absolutely freaking terrifying. I must say that's like, ugh. And obviously the introduction of Ethan Nakamura, very, very, very important character. He appears more in Last Olympian, so you'll have to stay with me for that. Annabeth's whole disbelief about Luke and it causing tension in the Percy-Beth relationship. We think Rachel's causing problems. Annabeth is also equally causing problems. I'm so happy that we finally got to meet Pan, and I'm so happy for Grover that he gets to carry on Pan's legacy. Oh, he Grover is the most heartfelt character in the show, and I'm so happy that he got what he's been waiting for. The battle sequence was really tense. Like, I like that things have gotten darker, not really quickly, but they've gotten darker at a good pace, if that makes sense. And obviously, the whole invasion and stuff, and that's really something. Yeah, I'm glad that Nico's finally redeemed himself. I'm glad that he's accepted that Bianca is gone, but he's still carrying her memory in a good way. I love that Poseidon comes to see Percy on his birthday, and just more of their relationship, which appears a lot more in Last Olympian, like I said. And I think it set the tone really nicely for how dark Last Olympian is going to be. Obviously, Percy's going to face Luke, which is going to be something. Let's just put it like that. I'm getting a bit thingy about Annabeth seeing Luke again. I don't know how she's going to react. But yeah, it's gonna be a good book. And then I'm gonna give you guys a ranking of my favorite books. I'm gonna put the series in rank order because I think that's something that you guys would like to know. But I'll do that after. But judging by what I'm reading, I still think 4 and 5 are my favorites. I can't pick between the two of them. I always said 5 was my favorite, but now that I reread 4, I'm like, I don't know. But I'll tell you guys about that more later on. So, like I said, next few episodes, which is the next 5, will be dedicated to Last Olympian. Um, yeah, there's a lot that goes down, so I've had to split it up a little bit more. But stay with me. Uh, I hope you guys are enjoying this as much as I am. I'm happy because I feel like I'm reliving my childhood, which is great. Uh, yeah, this has been so much fun. I'm kind of a little bit like disappointed that it's coming to an end, but yeah. So after I've done, I'll just give you a quick plan about what's going on. After I've done Last Olympian, I'm gonna do Percabeth episode, which I think I'm gonna call it the best of Percabeth. So I'm gonna do the best Percabeth moments in the series, and I'm gonna do the best Percabeth moments in the book, and I'm gonna pull some quotes from Heroes of Olympus and stuff. So stay tuned for that. And then after that, I'm gonna move on to Chalice of the Gods, I think. But yeah, I'll let you guys know close to the time. So thank you guys so much for listening in. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. My episodes are available on Spotify as well. Am I missing anything? Oh yeah. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram as well. Feel free to DM me any questions. Let me know what your favorite books moments are. And let me know your opinions on Percabeth. And I will hopefully speak to you guys sometime next week. Mwah. Bye.